Hi everybody, this is Lara from Pure Elliott Wave. I am going to start today with something new for you. I'm going to give you Bitcoin, Ethereum and XRP. I'm going to try and do this 5 days a week, Monday to Friday. Now I cannot give you my Bitcoin Elliott Wave analysis, but I'll find a couple of technical points. I'm going to look at Bitcoin with you every day. My Elliott Wave analysis is by subscription on my website. It's really reasonably priced. Now before I get into Bitcoin, I just want to show you on my website, I've also recently started providing daily gold analysis. So if you're interested in investing or trading in the gold market, we're providing a very in-depth, thorough report every day for gold with a video on Friday. I'll leave a link in the description box. You can go and check that out. Bitcoin, the two things I want to look at today is support and volume. So I've gotten rid of everything else on this chart. This is a weekly candlestick chart. This is the last completed week. This is a spinning top candlestick that represents indecision, a balance of bulls and bears. It's not a reversal signal. But I have noticed previously that this area, about 29,000, is pretty strong resistance and support. So here, price found support back here in June 2022, about 29,000, was able to break through consolidation, a new low, and this low to this day, November 2022, remains intact. I have quite a lot of confidence that that low will remain intact. And here we have again support around about the 29,000 level. So this support around 29,000 I think is actually really significant. Let's look at volume. The other thing I think is really important to note for Bitcoin today, and this is the pattern we're seeing. We have 3 weeks of a little pullback within an ongoing upward trend, and on the last week there is a little increase in volume week on week. That's really typical behavior of what happens at the end of a downward trend for Bitcoin. The bigger the trend, sometimes you'll see a selling climax. November 2022, this is a selling climax, downward movement to new lows for the year with a volume spike. Selling climax here, pause, final selling climax, which was the strongest. We've seen that pattern before, and now the volume for Bitcoin has really dropped off. Interest is just really dropping off. The volume here on the last completed week is 3.2 billion. The previous week, 2.7. So week on week for this last week, we see a little increase in volume. And so I think if support at 29,000 holds, I think Bitcoin could be ready to continue on up to the next major highs. So that's my take on Bitcoin. Look at that support at 29,000 and be aware that the volume profile supports the view that we could have a low in place for the short term for Bitcoin. Ethereum, I'm going to look at my Elliott Wave count with you for Ethereum and XRP, and we're going to look at a couple of key technicals that I've picked out to show you today. First thing on Ethereum I want to show you is this channel. This is a base channel. My Ethereum wave count's really bullish. Real quick from the monthly, just to refresh you. From the monthly chart for Ethereum, I see a cycle degree wave 1, wave 2, cycle 3. Within cycle 3, primary 1, primary 2. So Ethereum's wave count is in primary 3 within cycle 3. I've done all the detail on this down to the daily chart. And it has a beautiful fit, and it meets all Elliott Wave rules, as my wave counts always will. Zooming up into the weekly, we see within primary 3 and minor 1, minor 2, I'm not going to label this intermediate, it's too short, minute 1, minute 2. Now moving into a third wave at 2 lower degrees, minute within minor. So Ethereum I am expecting an increase in momentum, but not necessarily yet very explosive. We'll get explosive when it gets into intermediate wave 3. Draw a base channel around minute waves 1 and 2. You draw a base channel from the start of 1 to the end of 2. You place a copy on the end of 1. Perfect resistance down here. Let's look at that, support. Perfectly finding support with the lower wick of this current daily candlestick. So let's see what happens to Ethereum here. I think if that base channel is going to work as base channels usually do, not always, this is all a balance of probability, not certainty. If the base channel works as it usually does, then I think that may be support, and that may initiate a strong bounce upward for Ethereum. For Ethereum, currently an upward trend is indicated by ADX. Let's move this up. ADX is, well, I think it might actually be flat, but if it rises up again and has a positive slope like it did back here, it's going to be indicating an upward trend, and there's a long way to go before this upward trend is extreme. And there's a long way to go before RSI is overbought. So for Ethereum, I would say it's most likely in the relatively early stages of a new upward trend. Cryptos do tend to start their trend slowly, accelerate through the middle, and explode at the end. So it's absolutely unsurprising that overall volume is declining, but it's important to note that of recent days, in the last couple of weeks, it is upward sessions which have strongest volume. I would say that that gives it what I call a bullish volume profile. So I'm also bullish on Ethereum for the short term. Tentatively bullish for Bitcoin, a little bit more confidently bullish for Ethereum, and I want to note this trend line which I've copied over from that weekly chart. So that trend line is important for Ethereum. XRP monthly chart has cycle wave 1, cycle 2 over, cycle 3 in its early stages with primary 1 and primary 2. Now expecting primary 3 within cycle 3. When we drill down onto the weekly chart, I'm going to label intermediate wave 1 within primary 3 incomplete. I'm a little bit, there's a lot of overlapping in here, but this has now resolved a lot of the overlapping, but I'm going to label it as 2 overlapping first and second waves. Let's look at that on the daily. So I have the end of a leading expanding diagonal here for minute 1, and a zigzag now complete for minute 2. So the thing I want to draw your attention to for XRP today is this downward movement from this high to this low after this huge spike up. There's obviously going to be a correction in the opposite direction, and the Elliott Wave structure today for XRP is complete. On the daily, the current session for 7th of August is so far red, but it's got increased volume. Now if this session closes green, I would call that bullish, but if the session closes red, because remember I showed you on Ethereum, when they have these little pullbacks on the last session, that's when a little bit of interest arrives, and that can be associated with a low forming. So actually no matter which way this session closes, this increase in volume could be read as bullish. On the weekly chart for the mid to longer term, I'm going to say XRP has a pretty strongly bullish volume profile. That strong upward week with that huge spike higher had a really good strong push from volume. If we see a downward week close with a slight increase in volume for XRP, I would say that's somewhat likely. It's likely to have found a low. So the biggest thing I wanted to draw your attention to for XRP today is there is now a complete Elliott Wave structure. And so what would we need to have real confidence that XRP has found a low? Let's pull a channel around it and let's be quite conservative. Okay, I'm going to pull this upper trend line real carefully to sit across this high and the high of this candlestick. So if this trend line is breached by a full daily candlestick above and not touching it, then I would be bullish for XRP. I am hesitantly bullish today for XRP. My only concern though is the Elliott Wave structure here sees a leading expanding diagonal, and the following second wave correction isn't actually very deep. It's just over 50% in terms arithmetically, but it's only just below the logarithmic function of the 0.382 Fibonacci ratio. So that's actually not a very deep correction for minute wave 2. And second wave corrections following leading diagonals and first wave positions are commonly very deep. So this just isn't that deep. So it certainly could go lower. Hence, I would advise caution by using a trend channel. Wait for the channel to be breached, and that'll tell us the downward movement's over, next upward movement's underway. I'm trying to keep this simple. I'm trying to keep it under 10 minutes. I don't know how I managed to do that, but if I manage to do that. So this is going to be my new format. Let's see how this new format goes moving forward. I hope I can keep it up. I hope that this helps you and brings some enjoyment for me back to the channel, because I haven't been enjoying it so much lately. These are the markets I want to follow. These are the markets I want to do with you. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support.